Welcome back to the Open Mic Broadcast Network, the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince. We have on the line with us our football expert, none other than Coach Northern. Coach, how you doing this week, sir?
Man, everything going pretty good. Had a chance to watch a good bit of football. Went home for a reunion and saw some people I hadn't seen since we walked across the stage with each other. That was good. Saw my dad. He up and running, and like I say, watched a good bit of football. I watched some of the Norfolk versus Virginia State game, Southern versus Savannah. I recapped the Prairie View game because my dad doesn't have the service needed to watch it live, and I didn't watch much NFL game because I was on my way back. I'm not the biggest of NFL watchers, but it's good to watch sometimes. But I never grew up with a team that I just pulled for. Like, I got cousins that had a Cowboy star tattooed on them. I've never been into that type of fandom for one team.
Well, I must admit I am a Pittsburgh Steelers fan.
Yes.
But it's Prairie View, SWAC, and I will keep up with Missouri because I grew up in that area. But it's all about college for me as far as I'm concerned. And with that, man, we had some somewhat rebounding of Prairie View, still a bit disappointing from my vantage point. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Well, my letdown of the week, man, has to be Texas Southern.
Man, I told somebody that too because I thought they would give themselves a chance to win because of the size that they had on both sides of the front, some skill. I figured, Rice was going to be okay, but not be able to put up that many points versus Texas Southern. But a lot of times, then sometimes too, after a win versus Prairie View, you hadn't beaten them in 10 years. And like I say, sometimes you walking around campus, nobody is telling you get ready for Rice. They telling you how good you were for beating Prairie View. And it's hard for young men, or I say all men, not even the young men, but all men, to focus on the task at hand when everybody's telling you how good you were. And I used to mess with guys at Grambling and Prairie, like, you win certain games, you get an extra piece of chicken when you go to the cafeteria. Your teacher let you walk in class late, make your other students clap for you. You get you a new girlfriend or get you a new phone number from a girl that walk up to you and say, all that, I ain't even know you played football type of stuff. So everybody talking about last week, and you forget you got somebody else that's trying to knock your block off, and you don't prepare the way that you should for your upcoming opponent.
Now, your Jags took the action, and what was your assessment from Jag Nation?
Well, they didn't start off well at all. The kid that transferred from Grambling, Biden, he did not have a good start to the game. And then they actually replaced him with a redshirt freshman who you could see his high school pretty much from the visiting side of Southern's stadium. And he came in and did a good job. And the crazy thing about it, before the game, I ran into some people just in and out of Baton Rouge that said, hey, man, this kid is going to be pretty special if he gets a chance to get on the field. And lo and behold, he got in and made some plays. But the thing is, and I'm happy for the kid, that you have to understand, Southern fans, that the team that they were playing against is not going to be like Jackson State is not that team. They're going to have way better defensive linemen, linebackers, and secondary than what Savannah State. Savannah State had one outstanding DB. I want to say he was number 5 that was making plays all over the place. But eventually the numbers game caught up with Savannah. Now Southern has to get ready to go to Jackson and get ready for, I think it's going to be an outstanding crowd, outstanding environment. Hopefully both schools will be able to practice because I understand, my dad said they getting the outer bands of that weather that's supposed to be coming that way. So hopefully they'll be able to get some practices in. I know at one time LSU used to let Southern come over there and practice at their indoor facility, depending on what time certain games they would let them go over there. So hopefully, if the weather's bad, LSU will be kind enough to let the Jaguars use their facility.
And I was wondering, didn't they have a contingency on where they can possibly replay that game in the event they couldn't get it off this weekend?
You know what? I really hadn't heard anything about it, but they, like I say, would there be a deal where they might want to play the week before the Bayou Classic? Just from a financial standpoint, I know the city of Jackson would love for those people to come, but then the problem that you can present is, and then that's a turnaround trip for some people to go to Jackson back to Baton Rouge after the game. But if they play it before the Bayou Classic, will Southern fans want to go up there depending on what the record is? And they know in 3 to 5 days later, they're going to be making a trip to New Orleans for those people in Baton Rouge.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We had other performances. Pine Bluff looked like a Division I team, at least this past weekend, against, I think it was Arkansas Baptist, scoring a lot of points. Valley, although they didn't win, they're showing a little life, it seems like, Coach, at least early in the season.
Yeah, and I really think, man, if Valley could rub some coins together and support that program, they can be a pretty good program if they gave the coach the full allotment of scholarships. Because the thing is, number one, it's pretty good high school football in that part of the country. It's pretty good junior college football in that part of the country. And then, like I said, a school like Valley, I know at one time they were accepting, like if a kid had a C-, they would accept that grade as passing, whereas a school like a Prairie View or Southern, they wouldn't accept. It had to be a C+ or something like, like I say, in terms of progress towards degree and all that. So you would be able to get guys in school at a Valley that you might can't get even in a school like Jackson State, if you know what I'm talking about with the GPA and all that kind of stuff. But and then the other thing about it, you can dip into Tennessee. That Memphis area is not too far away, and like I say, you can follow that Mississippi River on up to the Chicago area. One time, Valley used to get a lot of good football players from Illinois because everybody in Illinois had ties back to Mississippi. So it was that, the Missouri area. So all those areas you could tap into where some pretty good high school football being played. And then, like I say, once you get them on campus, you keep them in the weight room as much as possible and hope they don't go home and don't come back sometime.
Now, one thing about trying to overcome programs like that is perception, though. Huh? Sometimes the damage can be so bad that it's hard to get people willing to come and want to be a part of that new change.
Well, some of it too, but then the other thing that, like I say, I came to Prairie View during the turnaround is the opportunity for change or the opportunity for opportunity, because you get a guy with a chip on the shoulder saying, man, I should be playing at the University of Memphis, but, Valley offered me the chance. I'm going to come and show these jokers what I'm all about. And now Valley, in the age of the transfer portal, coaches are selling, hey, man, come here and play for a year or two and see if one of those Power 5 schools come get you. So coaches are actually selling that in the recruiting process. And like I say, with the good football that's played in that part of northern Mississippi, southern Tennessee, that area, then northwest Arkansas, you can get you some pretty good football players. And like I say, make a run at people, because sometimes, like the thing about Valley, and people think I'm crazy when I say this, in my opinion, Valley was one of the hardest places to play as a player and as a coach, because once you get up there, people, you get in certain environments and they got the rap music playing and they can get you going a little bit. But when you get to Valley and it seemed like no matter where I was coaching, we always played Valley late in the year. And that grass would be done turned brown, so they might be done painted it green. They got ant piles on the hill. Jokers listening to the blues. It just was a slow environment. It's hard to get going per se. So, and I always thought that was a hard place to play and coach.
Man, you had me thinking of a scene from In the Heat of the Night.
Oh yeah. Hey, I remember one year, we were dragging around so slow, and this is when they were working on the stadium at Valley. We played at a high school, and Coach Frazier made the guys run gassers before the game. So, like, okay, y'all want to come out here and act like this? Okay, hopefully this will get you going to let you guys see how serious this situation is. So, you have to do things a little bit different when you go into a place like that. It's almost like my brother would say going to Mississippi State was different because they had the hottest locker rooms you could ever imagine, and they were painted pink. So it wasn't a big stadium. The only thing he could talk about was the Cowbells. But it's just that environment is not intimidating. It's just different. It's not a lot of noise, but you got to play football when you get up there.
Well, it's ironic that you would say intimidating environment, and we might as well bring them into the fold now. That's what I think when I think about my Panthers. It's not a place, at least from outside looking in, that's going to overwhelm you. Man, we got to deal with the contingency of these fans at Prairie View. Even if they show out, they're so well-mannered and behaved.
Hey, man, like you say, they're the nicest people, and like they nice to you, to be honest with you. But we talk about the difference in environment. So I was telling somebody, like I went home for my class reunion as well last weekend, but I was telling somebody about coming back to Southern, coaching at Prairie View, and I remember one time, I think this may have been the first time I went back as a coach at Prairie View, and we used Southern's old locker room, which is right under the student section and the band at Southern. So we had problems actually getting out the locker room. So it just so happened one of the police officers, two of them actually, one of them was my Little League baseball coach. Another one was a guy that played at Southern. Like, hey, man, we need help getting out the locker room. And, basically, like, these people won't move. And one of the police officers was telling me, like, hey, man, y'all need to move out the way. And one of the guys said, hey, man, I ain't moving. They sorry. We ain't moving. They got to deal with us all game. We going to be here. So the police officer, one of them said, hey, man, do you want to watch the game in the stadium or do you want to watch it by the airport? He said, what you mean by the airport? So that's where the parish prison is. Like, I'm going to send you to the jail down the road if you don't move out these, let them get to the field type of thing. And that environment, like just getting out of there and they booing you, like I say, you coming right on, they might be throwing drinks down on you, stuff like that. And I can also remember Coach Kamaji when he was at Jackson State just talking about the hostile environment, and people took offense to him saying that it was hostile because of some of the things that you had to go through. At one time, at Southern, you had to walk from, it's a gym that's probably, just say, imagine if you playing at Prairie View, you had to walk from the MSC to the stadium before the game. So, like I said, you got people messing with you, talking noise, all that kind of stuff. So, it can be intimidating and mess with you. So that environment is what you like. Sort of getting back to it, it is the nicest place to ever play football. Like, if you can play a football game and don't get a penalty drawn in crucial situations for being offsides or a false start, you and let me put it nicely, you're not helping your team. So I heard somebody say, well, they need to give us something to cheer for. So I was telling someone, All right. Just imagine it's a certain song that you can play in your radio while you're driving that will make you drive faster. So that's external motivation. So it can be the same way for that football team. They can hear a certain song, a certain chant, that loud noise that will, as they say, get them going. And at sometimes, and it's not just Prairie View. It's like even sometimes Southern fans can be like that. If the team is not having the greatest success or they struggling on one side, they can get, my wife say they can get a little bougie over there in Scotlandville as well. So let's try to help our team win by giving them some external motivation.
We're talking with Coach Northern. Of course, we're going to always get some insights on the coaching atmosphere. But recap the Panthers. They win, and I had some mixed emotions, Coach. They did well on certain things. They did not so well on certain things. This was a team on paper they should have beaten, and they did beat them. I don't care about the fact that they had a rough, last year, and they had to shorten their season. I understand that. Our heart goes out to them, but that's not our problem. This team keeps getting in their own way, man. 12 penalties, 124 yards. You were giving up some massive plays toward the end of the game. This game was way closer than what it should have been on paper.
As the coach in me says, that's going to give us a lot to teach off of. But if you look at the numbers said the game shouldn't have been close. But the turnovers is what, in my opinion, more than the penalties, made the game close because Prairie View threw 2 pick sixes. So those yards that Northwestern State got by running the interception back for a touchdown doesn't go to their offense. So now Prairie View gets the ball back 2 times more per se than Northwestern State. So that's how Prairie View can end up with 460-something yards of offense and Northwestern only 282 yards. Prairie View had the 3 turnovers, 12 penalties. Prairie View was 50% on third down conversion, where Northwestern was like 2 of 12, 2 of 13. So it's all those different things like that can make the numbers look a little bit misleading in terms of, man, we should have blew them folks out. Well, now you're not going to blow them out if you have 2 pick sixes. And the numbers say if you throw a pick six or you have a punt return for a touchdown, 80% of those games you're going to lose. So that's how the numbers say one thing, but you get the win. Now, at the end of the game, I watched the last 5 minutes of the game, the last few drives, because I wanted to see what in the world exactly was going on with that game. Why did it take so long to finish? Well, the couple of penalties, the turnovers by Northwestern State gave Prairie View the ball back, and then, like say, for them to go 98 yards with no timeouts, which is very possible in the game, but to go that far and only have completed like maybe 2 passes, the 2 back-to-back pass interference call was perplexing. And like I say, I don't like talking about coaching. I don't like talking about players. I just think it was some bad technique involved. But like I was telling somebody else that I've been to practice and I've seen them practice the technique that the young man should have been using at that point in the game, and he was not using the proper technique. So that's how you end up with some of those penalties. The other thing that caught my eye was the safeties for Prairie View were not attacking the football. They would see the ball coming on certain coverages, and I know on 2 occasions I thought on the last drive the safety should have intercepted those passes, because if they would have broke on and drove to and through the guy to get to the football, they should have. And then the last one, they got them down to the 1 yard line. Should have been intercepted. And then the home field clock advantage. Like I was watching the clock closely to see how long after the ball was snapped did the clock start, and it was some delays. I'll put it to you like that. I saw some delays in the clock that gave Northwestern State a few more seconds than they should have had to run all those plays in a minute and something seconds.
Okay. So a little home cooking is what you saw.
And you're supposed to get home cooking. Like, my mom used to tell us when I was, the first time I remember her saying something like, when you better make sure you don't leave it close, because if it's close, they're going to try to help themselves out. And, she wouldn't say it in such nice terms, but you understand when you go to somebody else's house, she would tell us, like, look, when y'all go play that street over there, y'all better beat them bad, because if you let it be close, they gonna try to find a way or cheat to make sure that they win. So you got to make sure you don't leave it. You leave no doubt. It's the same thing. I tell my son, he played baseball, and it just so happened one of the kids that he plays with, mama work at the school, play the same position, and I tell him point blank, I'm like, hey man, you better make sure you don't leave it anywhere close, because that kid is going to end up beating you out, because, like I say, the mama work at the school. You got to make sure that people say, why are we not playing Adam instead of this other boy if Adam is not playing? Because Adam, he hadn't made any mistakes. So you got to make sure you leave no doubt on your end, so you don't have that one fluke play that can make you be crying on the bus ride back or in the locker room.
Absolutely. And that's what makes me a little irritated about the transfer portal. It's like guys do not want to compete anymore. They just want to be guaranteed positions and get paid. And then when it comes to competition, you want to abandon ship. And I just think that affects a man's character down the road when his playing days are well over. But that's neither here nor there. So when we look at the situation at Prairie View, I don't think there's a quarterback controversy. I think you got who you got at quarterback. And now that we're talking about quarterbacks, unfortunate for Mr. Body at Alabama State. Great talent, but the guy can't stay healthy, man. I guess that's part of his DNA makeup, but you just got some guys, man, that just wasn't designed for the long haul, huh?
Yeah, like I say, it's one of those funny situations because of the injury. You think, like, did this recent injury happen because of a previous injury? It's like if you hurt one leg and you limp on it, then your back start hurting. So is the injury that he suffered now, if it's not a broken bone, is it because of a soft tissue issue that he didn't completely heal from at Texas Southern? From my understanding, this is his third year in a row with a shoulder injury. So it's tough for the kid. The thing about it, he's a dual threat athlete, and for some people to say that he shouldn't run the ball, well, if you're a dual threat athlete and you're not running the football, then you are not a dual threat. You are a drop back passer. So, and man, we talk about injuries. I can remember a couple years when I was at Prairie View. So somebody basically complained to me about injuries that we had in training camp. So one of our injuries, we had a starting defensive end break his leg because he hit a sprinkle head on the practice field. We had another guy break his hand slap boxing in the locker room. We had another guy tear his ACL in pregame warm-ups. I had a quarterback that broke his foot in pregame warm-ups. So, like I say, a lot of times stuff just happens and it's out of a coach's control. It's nothing that Eddie Robinson could have done to predict that kid was going to get hurt. But, all of that goes hand in hand, like with people complaining about certain things. I just think Alabama State football is about to turn into, I would say, like the 2006, 2007's Prairie View teams where the offense is going to run it, play action, roll out, and try to ball control you to death. And the defense job is going to be to make you go 3 and out and punt. And eventually we're going to be in field goal range and win a lot of 17 to 15, 12 to 14 type of games. So that, unfortunately for them, that's the way that they're going to have to win some games, and just don't beat themselves, which Eddie Robinson probably going to be fine with. But just don't beat ourselves, and let's lean on our kicking game, our run game, and our defense that's supposed to be pretty good. Now, as a defensive coach, I know that defense coordinator don't want to hear that, because I know that sometimes me and Coach Sewell, Coach Brandon, we be over there almost ready to pull our hair out. But I told somebody, defensive touchdowns count. You know, when Tampa Bay won the championship, John Gruden issued a challenge to them guys. Y'all supposed to be so good, y'all scored a football type of deal. And that's what Alabama State defense don't have to do.
Absolutely, absolutely. And when you look at the matchups, we know a premier game this week is going to be Jackson State Southern. And is this one of those confusing non-conference game, or is this going to count as a conference game, Coach? Do you know?
I'm not going to say it's a confusing non-conference game. It is a money game. It would be I guarantee Southern could probably go play Tulane, and they, they're not going to have a crowd, but it's going to be a great crowd, a great atmosphere. It's a game that the SWAC needs to happen. Yeah, it's like we need to make this happen if it counts or if it don't count, and let's try to find a way to do something good. Like say, I don't know if Southern is getting a cut of the gate, but I looked at the tickets price and I almost said a customer, but they doggone sure should get a cut after I saw the prices for general admission at Jackson Memorial Stadium. But I think it's gonna be, like I say, that's one of the best atmospheres besides the Bayou Classic. The Jackson State Southern game is one of the best places I've ever been in my football life.
Oh, yeah, it's going to definitely be thick, but sometimes when they play this early, I don't be knowing if it's a conference game or is it just considered one of those non-conference games with a conference opponent. But it should be a good turnout regardless of what it is. And I know you're going to be, let's say, knee-deep into that one. What other games are you looking at that are going to be key for you this week in your matchups?
I think Grambling has, is it Commerce or Kingsville? Other than
that, Texas A&M Commerce.
Yeah, other than that, I'm not going to say I have no interest in other schools, but that's going to be the game that I will track. I probably won't even check the scores on the Prairie View Michigan State game, being honest with you. But other than that, like I said, I had
Thanks a lot,
closely.
Coach. Thanks a lot, Coach.
I'm being honest, man. You like?
Oh, I know, Coach.
Man, I'm looking at this like, don't take this. Part of the problem, I'm too honest, but I would say, what in the world are we scheduling this game for? You see what I'm saying?
Well, Coach, not only that, but the amount that we're getting for the game, I had a problem with as well. But we're not going to beat that dead horse. Go ahead, enjoy the trip. It's almost like a paid scrimmage that you're going to anyway. So just make sure you check clear and bring it on home. And then you got to get ready for Southern, which is going to be Southern then Grambling, which is going to be two huge games that's going to set the tone for the rest of Prairie View season. And it's not trying to be hyperbolic, melodramatic. It just is what it is. So basically I guess you'll work on some things to get ready for Southern. My question is, do you start your number 2, number 1 quarterback? You know what I mean? Well, I know you do start him to get some reps, but after a while, man, let's be honest. Let's get in here, get some reps in, and let's get ready for the next week.
Well, I'm going in there. My starter's going to play. So I'm going to see how well we compete for at least the first quarter to halftime. Let's see if we can keep this thing close. Now, if we close and we scratching and clawing, then I'm going to let my guys play a little bit longer. If not, we are going to probably play some of our twos that say they should be playing, and we are going to – it's going to look like we're in our 2 minutes or 4 minute offense, and we have the lead. I'm telling my quarterback, we're going to know where the play clocks are, and we're not going to snap the ball until it's 1 or 2 seconds left on that play clock. We're going to shorten the game, and I may say we'll hurry up, no huddle, up tempo. We may go into the game with that strategy. Instead of trying to run our normal 80 to 90 plays, let's try to see if we can cut it down to 40 to 50 plays. But some people say, oh, you going in there with a defeated attitude. Nah, I'm going in there with a different strategy to try to shorten the game, to keep their offense off the field. On defense, I probably may play a whole lot more cover 4 and have some eyes in the backfield to stop the run attack. And we're not gonna give up big plays. We're gonna make you use the clock while you're on offense too.
Okay. So just a little slight strategy approach. Eat up some clock, and 3-4 yards in a cloud of dust will help in a case like this, right?
Yes, sir. And like I say, the biggest thing is shortening the game to your advantage. When I say it don't make sense for Coach Whedon to snap the ball with 25 seconds on the play clock and you're not getting any yards rushing. You can't drop back pass, so you're probably going to have to pull the pocket, and then you're not getting a completion. And then you look up, have the ball for 3 to 5 plays, and you've only taken less than a minute off the play clock or the game clock in terms of time of possession. So, like I say, it's different ways to skin that cat. But, like, I'm going in there telling my guys we have to win, and we're going to play like it. But if I see us getting out and the guys like you say, the chicken eaters, they going to get in the game, and they going to earn their chicken for the flight back.
Here you go, son. You say you want a shot. Here's your shot.
Yeah. And like you say, I know he outweigh you by 50 pounds, but go out there and scratch and claw.
Oh, man, that's all right. That's just like a guy in basketball. He's a big physical kid. He can't shoot. Hey, son, you got 5 fouls. Go earn each one of them.
Hey, man, go use them fouls, and like you say, you're going to get the same meal as the guy that scored 20 points after the game.
Coach Campbell, go in there and get me some ankle bites, son. Let's go in there and make something happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's all right. Now, Coach, I know people think it's like taking a defeated attitude, but yes, you do realistically want to win the game, but realistically, too, you got to look out for the future of your team and keep you guys. How do you mentally prepare for a game that you're coming in as a mighty underdog?
Is that rely on your training, and then you got to tell guys. So if you have NFL aspirations, or in today's world, like I said, you have go and get me an NIL deal from another school aspiration. First thing they don't want to do is see how this state. One thing you can sell. The other thing is, they say the NFL, that's going to be the first tape. They have scouts that come to every team is going to probably start back around the first week of October, because they usually come to training camp. Coach, give me your list. Find out who's in the conference, what other players they need to look at. And then when they start coming back in October, they're going to want to see the Michigan State game for, just say they want to look at Savage, the wide receiver, and I'm not sure if his classification. Let me see how he's playing. Oh, let me see the Michigan State. Let me see if he's getting separation from some guys that on paper are supposed to be better than him. Okay, you got a defensive end that's supposed to be a pretty good player, or a cornerback. Let me see his film versus Michigan State, and then I'll look at that Texas Southern or Grambling film later. But that's what you can sell guys on. But I'm also selling them on hey, man, we ain't got nothing to lose, bro. So, and I have to be careful how I say this. Beating up a person, like they say, beating up a person that can't fight is not the same as beating up a person that, as we used to say, supposed to have hands. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
If you beat up the non-hands person, then you don't get no credit for that. But if you fight good, like you can even lose the fight, but if you put up a good fight, you're gonna get some pats on the back, like, oh man, I ain't know you had that in you. So that's what I would say to guys. All right, we beat Northwestern. Even though it was closer than what you wanted to be, that was what we were supposed to do. Now let's go up here and check our hands against these guys. That's the way I would sell it, and that's what I'm talking to. Let's step up in weight class, and I would tell a guy, hey man, just keep flicking that jab out there and stay in the fight.
Okay. Well, we got time for this. Put you on the spot, and we're gonna put you on the spot on a more familiar territory. I know who you're picking for Southern Jackson State. What score you got, Coach?
Well, you know what? I'm an honest person. So if I had to pick, I don't pick on emotion. But I think it's going to be, and a lot of it is going to depend on Southern's quarterback play. It's probably going to be in the 24 to 21, 26 to 24 type of game. I think it's going to be a close game with some defensive touchdowns being scored, because I want to say something's going on with Jackson quarterback. I'm not 100% sure if one of them is hurt, got some suspension or something going on, but their quarterback play has not lived up to par, even though they beat Lane, whatever the score was. Southern quarterback, now they have a redshirt freshman that's playing now, but he hadn't played against a defensive line that's as good as Jackson State's, but Jackson State's secondary is not the customary Jackson State cornerbacks that's going to have a shot at going to the NFL right now. So it's going to be a lot of, I don't think it's going to be 24 and 27, that's not a lot of points, but I don't think it's going to be the 38-35. I think it's going to be one of those mid-20s, first team to 24 going to win the game type of deal.
But you still ain't picked.
You know what? I said I was going to get away from picking. I think I'm going to throw some abouts out there, because, like you say, it's funny to me. Like you say, man, you dealing with some of these coaches so sensitive that.
Welcome to my world, man. Welcome.
Hey, man,
and they'll put you on block for, man, it was just a factual statement. I'm sorry.
Yeah, like you say, me and Coach Frederick, that's my hunting partner. Coach Graves coached me. I think every coach on Southern staff I've been knowing for at least 10 to 20 years. And for me to say that I think that Southern is going to lose and I have to go back in their field house, and now the only thing that'll help me if I go back in there with a donation or something, and which me and my wife do every year, that might give me. But man, I'm not gonna pick. I'm pulling for Southern, but I think the game is gonna be 24-27. It's gonna be close. It's gonna be some. Whoever loses this game, they coach gonna be the worst coach that ever coached football.
Well, I actually gave a slight edge to Jackson State because they're quote unquote home. I said 21-17, but I think it's going to be a heck of a game, though. I said 21-17.
Man, so you talking about, Mike, I'm getting chills just sitting here thinking about my senior year. The only game we lost was to Jackson State. Man, we played them in Jackson Memorial, and the atmosphere, because people were there well before the game started because it was a rumor that Jackson State always opened Southern side late, and they always had ticket problems. So what Southern fans started doing was getting to the game early and would enter on Jackson State side and walk around. But, man, like I say, we were walking, like every time a different position group came out, it would be like they were battling, like which fans can out-cheer the other one. Just say when the running back came out for Southern, they would be loud as I don't know what. And then when the running back came out for Jackson State, it would, try to out loud Southern. The other thing was, man, I grew up loving Jackson State as much as I did Grambling because Jackson State was dominant in the 80s. But, man, Jackson, when that doggone band walked in there, the chills that went down my body when they, bump, they coming in bumping, get ready because here we come. And I love that with a passion. I'm talking about super loud. Then we played, and it was a close game. I think we may have lost about 2 or 3. It was close. I got sick and couldn't play for part of the game because my temperature dropped real low. So they scored one of their touchdowns while I was dealing with a medical incident. But, man, the fourth quarter, Jackson State, and it might have been even the whole second half, Jackson State band played the show. And if you know anything about them playing the show, like they would play it, and then the referees might give them a warning. They would never stop playing it, but they would just lower it down a little bit, just enough to not get a penalty. And then they would crank that thing back up, Mike. And I'm talking about, and that's why I think, like, that's one of the best environments. If Jackson got recruits in town for that game, there's no way in the world that they could say, I'm going somewhere else unless they go to the Bayou Classic on a recruiting visit. I guarantee that. And I tell people this, and they think I'm crazy. So it's a difference. I was talking to somebody from Grambling. So it is a difference between, just say if you live within an hour's ride of Grambling, there are kids that grow up wanting to play football at Grambling if they go to a home game, the right home game. There are kids in an hour's drive of Jackson that grow up wanting to play for Jackson State University. There are kids in and around Baton Rouge, from Baton Rouge to Opelousas to New Orleans, that grow up wanting to play football at Southern. And nothing against Prairie View, nothing against Texas or anybody else. I can't think of any other HBCU that's in this area that kids that grow up saying, I want to play there, no matter sort of like who recruited me, I want to go there and play football. So it's a little bit different to me with those 3 schools in terms of the feel, the environment, the legacy that those schools have produced. And a lot of it comes from, for a while, a lot of the guys that grew up playing for those schools, they went back, if they were in education, they were like, I'm sending my guys. You go in their classroom, and they have Grambling Southern flags, stickers, pom-poms in their classroom, and they were like repeat the cycle type of deal. You understand what I'm saying? So I know I'm off track, but, man, just that environment is a hard thing to beat, and I wish that a lot of kids in this area could go to a Prairie View game and feel that this, man, I can't believe that. And I mentioned last year I went to a Southern game, and there was a guy that was committed to a school in the state of Texas that was on the sideline with his high school coach, and he told his high school coach, like, man, Coach, I want to decommit. I think I like this. At a Southern versus, I think it was Southern versus Jackson State, if I'm not mistaken. It was the Southern versus Jackson State, or the Southern versus, it wasn't Texas Southern, but I'm pretty, it was the Southern versus Jackson State game. And I heard a kid tell his high school coach, I want to decommit. I like this.
Yes, the power of fans that understand how to cheer, when to cheer, and when to show up, right? Well,
yes, sir.
Maybe, as they say, We'll get there one day. Coach, I want to thank you as always, sir, for coming and being a part. You travel safe, man, and we're looking for a sound, good report and some exciting action between Jackson State and the Southern Jaguars. And I know you're going to be there with Bell's own, man. And we look forward to getting together on the next week, okay?
Yes, sir. Take care.
All right, Coach Northern, our football expert. I am the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince, reminding you guys you can follow me on Twitter, X, at The Mike Prince Show. Subscribe to the YouTube channel at the Open Mic Broadcast Network. And do visit the website, obnradio.com, for our 24-hour streaming content. So until the next time, you guys be blessed, and we'll see you on the other side.